Glock clones are nothing new to the market. However, every company that makes one has a slightly different take on them, either going full custom at an extreme cost like a ZEV, or extremely affordable like the Palmetto State Armory. Now this is the FKS-9 from Zro Delta. It's in that budget category, coming in a few $100s less than a standard Glock, but with some options that are usually not on factory pistols and that are a definite upgrade. The FKS-9 in essence is a Gen 3 Glock clone with a little bit of Gen 4 mixed in. It follows the traditional Glock 3-pin design, consisting of a trigger housing pin, a trigger pin, and a locking block pin, all of which are solid, unlike some other cloners like the PSA Dagger that uses a roll pin style design on a few of those. Mostly a Gen 3 from the internals to the slide and the recoil spring, yet you get the Gen 4 reversible magazine release, which in my opinion is better and a definite upgrade over the Gen 3, both in size, location, and the ability for lefties to swap it back and forth. It also has 3-dot white sights, which are metal. Now the custom options on the FKS-9 include a reduced grip angle to 18 degrees, a double undercut on the trigger guard, which is always helpful out on the range, an aggressive stipple pattern, an enhanced beaver tail for more recoil control, front recoil ledges on both sides of the frame for left and right-handed users, a match grade barrel, and your choice of a standard, optic ready, or a premium slide package, depending on which one you want. I opted for the more budget-friendly version because, let's just be honest, inflation is pretty much touching all of us at this point, and new owners are looking for the most value they can get in the market. And should they want to upgrade to an optic later, I do have an option that'll get the job done without having to send your slide in to get it cut, and we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. So how does it actually perform out on the range? And speaking of performance, Brownells has helped me perform here on this channel for the past few years by supporting me in several different ways. Not only do they support me here, but they also support my website, which is where I host and put all of the parts lists and build lists and everything, so you can do all of your own research should you be interested in anything you see. There's probably also some things over there that will help you kind of not pay full Galactic credits for something should you be interested. And on top of that, they are just an awesome Pro 2A company that I have become friends with that really does a lot for people like me and you out there in the world. Out on the range, I have just under 500 rounds through the FKS-9 from Zro Delta, and there are a few things on this pistol that are upgrades that definitely help with the performance and the controllability out there. First of which being all of that texture around the grip. Next up, those recoil reduction ledges out front, and of course the double undercut. Now these do make a difference in the feel of this pistol out there, how fast you can run it, how fast you can get follow-up shots, and of course the overall stability of your grip on the pistol. The more aggressive grip texture, the more ability to get high on the pistol grip, and then of course the beaver tail as well. All of those things help control recoil out there, all of which are going to help you get those rounds on target downrange just a little bit faster with a little bit more comfort in that grip. But when it comes to a $399 to $499 pistol, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because we do have some upgrades here that aren't standard for most pistols out there that make a nice performance difference out on the range. So let's address reliability first. It's been 100% reliable, even with some of the cheap Turkish ammo that I'm almost done blowing through that has caused all kinds of issues. I've only got like a box of like 20 self-defense rounds through this thing because I'm just completely out of self-defense ammo, but it ran all the ball 115, 124, and the, I think it was 124 grain critical duty, I think is what I had left, or critical defense, one of the two. But either way, it ate through all those, no problem at all. As far as those performance features, between the 18-degree grip angle, the texture, the recoil reduction ledges up front, the double undercut, the extended beaver tail, those make a nice and distinct difference in the feel and the recoil management of this pistol out on the range. You're going to have a more solid grip. You're going to have more stability with those thumb ledges up front, a little bit of a higher grip with that double undercut, a little bit more control with that beaver tail, and those follow-up shots are going to come very fast and very accurate as long as you are doing your job. And of course, all of that grip texture everywhere around the grip just makes your life a little bit easier. And as I've said before, I will take every single advantage I can when it comes to shooting a pistol or a rifle or any other firearm out there in the market. The trigger, it's pretty stock Glock, so it runs. That's about the best you can say about a standard Glock trigger. All of the standard Glock style safeties here are intact. They function as they should. You've got the striker block safety, the trigger shoe safety, and the drop safe ledge where the back of the trigger bar sits in the trigger housing group. All of those things are 100% functional and do the job that they are meant to do. Overall, the range experience here is really what I expected, having seen this thing out of the box and having my hands on it for some dry fire. I knew those little upgrades were gonna make a little bit of a difference. They're not going to make a huge, massive, crazy, feel like a different pistol difference, but little stuff like better texture, undercuts, they do make a difference, and it is noticeable out on the range because your ability to effectively control and manage recoil and get faster shots is just a little bit easier. And while this is a slightly more custom than a standard Glock clone, it's definitely not a full race gun. So there is room for improvement here in a couple of areas. Like say you want to run a different trigger in there. I did try an Overwatch trigger in here and it ran just fine. As far as every other little part and piece, I haven't tried all of the other typical things you can do to a Glock style pistol, but I'm assuming since the trigger worked, most other things are probably going to work as well, and that might come in a follow-up video. There's definitely some other details you want to know about this pistol, one of which being cleaning, maintenance, all that stuff. It's the exact same as a Gen 3 Glock. There's tons of videos out there. I'm not going to beat it to death. So if you need a tune-up on how to get all that done, those videos are out there. Accuracy. So this does have a match grade barrel. It's got a little bit of looks on the side of it, kind of give it a little bit of flair. It's going to do everything you need it to do out on the range. So minus being in a ransom rest to do extreme testing, you in the hand, just like me, unless you're Jerry Michalik, are probably not going to notice a difference in accuracy when it comes to this pistol barrel. Up front on that accessory rail, it is the Gen 3, Gen 4 Glock sized accessory rail. It's not the 1913 or the pick size. So that's definitely something you need to be aware of when it comes to mounting any accessory. You also get the option to choose between a couple of different slides depending on the price point. You get a standard non-optics, an optics ready, and then some kind of like Elite Series slide, right? And they have multiple different colors. They have black, I think green, gray, bronze, stuff like that. So you get a little bit of a choice there. Now, should you get the standard version like I have here today and you want to upgrade down the road to an optic and you don't want to send your slide out to get milled, say it's your only pistol and you don't want to be without it for 3 to 4 weeks, there is an option out there that I've personally used on a few firearms and I'm actually confident in saying I would carry it out there in the world. That is the Dub adaptive mounting plate here. It's the only one of these kind of dovetail interface plates that I've personally seen that like actually worked really good. It's got backup iron sights. It's got a set screw in the middle. It's made out of steel, so it maintains a really low deck height over the slide. So it's really kind of the full package, and it's actually fairly affordable, actually really affordable. I think it's like 79 bucks or 89 bucks with the sights. And if you want like night sights, I think it's like 20 bucks more. And you just pretty much need an armorer's punch and an armorer's hammer. You can get that thing done, a little bit of Loctite, put your optic on there, and you're gonna be good to go. So I'll have some information for that at the build list, but it's about the only one I would trust and say it's worth using. All right, well, how about some pros, cons, and some gripes here, because nobody gets a free pass on the channel, right? Let's start with those pros. Framework here, great. Everything from the grip texture, the grip angle on it, the accelerator cuts or ledges out front, whatever you want to call it, double undercut, solid work on the frame. I find that very nice in a frame like this to have a reduced grip angle, all the texture, all the little things that we normally pay 300, 400, 500 bucks on, depending on who does the framework for you, comes on this thing for a decent price point. Reliability out there was 100%. I've only got like probably more like 350 rounds for this thing, but under 500. That's not a bad starting point, but a pistol isn't really proofed in my opinion. I've got a few thousand rounds through it, but that is a good starting point. I'll probably do a follow-up video along to see what other parts go in this, but that's where it's at right now. Now, what about a little bit of a con or a gripe here? Because there was really two things that me personally, I would like to see either changed or a little issue that came up. First thing up front, that Glock-sized insert for lights or whatever you want to put on the accessory rail right there. I just don't like that anymore. I think in the modern market, even the Gen 5s have gone to the larger kind of 1913 size, and I really wish that all of the aftermarket companies would do the same on that, because if you have more than one pistol and you use the Glock-sized insert and you take that off, that accessory off of this and you put it on that other frame, there's a little bit of movement front to back, and that can actually cause some damage to your frame over time due to the recoil impulse and that accessory sliding back and forth in that other frame. where if it was the 1913 size, would pretty much be universal with I think almost every other major manufacturer out there. I know that's nitpicking, but that's one thing that just really bugs me about pistols, that we're not just using the same insert for the accessories just across the board, minus like the micro stuff. I know that's probably not possible. Now, the only other thing that I did notice about the pistol is right here on the trigger pin. So this is just a cosmetic issue here, but it appears that when this was being put together, the armor or whoever put it together, I don't know whether they were an armor or not, you can definitely see they slid off the pin and they got a nice little punch kind of divot right there in the side of the frame. It's purely cosmetic, but it's just one of those things where kind of maybe a small QC issue. It's not going to hurt functionality at all. And if you were into having your pistols maintained and looking perfectly new at all times, that might bother you. I honestly didn't even notice it until I was filming the up close video here prior to turning the camera on. So that's just one tiny little thing that could be a QC issue that you might want to know about. I haven't heard of that anywhere else. I haven't seen a ton of videos out there on this pistol, but it's just definitely something that I wanted to bring up. I guess the only real question left is, are you interested in Glock clones in 2024, no matter what generation they are? And I guess the only thing left to say is subscribe. And if you stay ready and gotta get ready, I will see you all on the next one.